Well, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk on the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast as the proud partner of the Euroset Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. As always, I am your host, Numac, coming to you this week with a riveting and very exciting preview of the Packers and Browns matchup this Sunday. A little bit toned down in the what's the expectations for this game as opposed to week one versus the Lions, a Super Bowl contender, week two versus the Commanders, a Super Bowl contender, and now week three kind of bring down the adrenaline and the hype around the Packers game on Sunday, even though it should be a good game regardless. To talk about all that and more with me is my lovely co-host Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm well. I should say I'm well.
Good.
How about you?
Doing just peachy. Just peachy. Ah, I'm excited to
And cream?
not no, just peachy. No cream.
Just peachy?
No
That's
cream.
fine.
No cream. A lot of news to talk about this week, including some injury stuff, some possible trade stuff. So let's get into the latest uh, from 1265 Lombardi Avenue. First and foremost, Jaden Reed underwent surgery to repair his broken clavicle, as well as he had surgery on his foot to repair whatever was wrong with it, whether it was the Jones fracture or whatever injury he had to his foot. He said on Twitter uh, this afternoon, being Wednesday, that he had surgery, successful surgery on both. So, but, excuse me, better to get both of those out of the way and to come back fully healthy, hopefully around Thanksgiving, December time. So good news on for Jaden Reed, right, Jordan?
Absolutely. Um, it's not great that this could have like it. Let me rephrase this. There's a non-zero chance that this just could be a flat out lost season for Jaden Reed in a lot of ways. I think it's not so much the clavicle; it's obviously the foot surgery. Whether that's a cleanup or whether, I mean, consider that he was playing with a Jones fracture, that seems like a very significant surgery. So I think it was very telling that we knew that he underwent surgery, but there was nothing. I don't think I saw any reporting in terms of the recovery process or like what they expect. Um,
I haven't either.
so and I mean, let's do the math here. 3 months out, you're middle December.
Even though I think
Hopefully,
clavicle is like two
Well, so that was the thing when we went
post game.
post game on
Yep.
last Thursday,
Yep.
6 to 8 weeks. That was what Ian Rappaport was saying.
Yep.
However, we didn't know that he was going to get
The
foot
foot.
surgery.
Right.
So I'm not really the clavicle. I mean, he'll heal from. It's more so like he's out of commission, and so the ramp up time can only be done when
Once his foot's healed. Right.
exactly. So that's where I think it's very notable that we have not heard anything regarding that. Like
Right.
he is literally the SpongeBob meme of, you know,
The broken
the
man when they sell
crutch.
chocolate.
Yes, exactly.
It's one of my favorite
Yes, yes.
scenes. My favorite scenes. Um, Jordan Love after Wednesday's practice. This is from Packers.com from Mike Spolford. Quote, I think Jay Reed's one of one. He'll be missed, but we've got a lot of guys in that receiver room who can step up, who've played a lot of good minutes, and this won't be their first time getting in there. So that makes it seem like, well, I don't want to say it's not Matthew Golden, but like, or maybe he wasn't thinking about Matthew Golden in that spot, but that doesn't really matter. Um, Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. They obviously he's great. He had a really good start to the season with the touchdown against the Lions in Week 1, and then that touchdown called back on the play that he did break his clavicle. So hopefully that momentum can hopefully transfer to the rest of the season once he comes back. But obviously it'll take some getting used to getting back into game shape because he's got to get conditioning. Like you said, he's out of commission and not being able to be on his feet and run and maintain his conditioning. So here's to hoping that, like you said, he comes back healthy, gets his feet under him by the time the playoffs come, and he's healthy for an extended playoff run.
Yeah.
Um, Other foot injuries across the NFL have crept their way into the Packers' news sphere. Joe Burrow, with a pretty bad case of turf toe, is out for at least 3 months, making the Bengals' season all but lost as they start Jake Browning uh, at QB for the foreseeable future. That didn't stop them, the Bengals, from reaching out to the Packers to inquire about quarterback Malik Willis. My apologies. Uh, I believe it was Easton Butler uh, reported what's today, Monday? But today's Wednesday. I think it was Monday or
Today's
Tuesday.
Wednesday, but Monday was
Yeah,
yes.
that the Bengals reached out, inquiring about Malik Willis, and then he updated that report later in the day to say that the Bengals offered a sixth rounder for Malik Willis. This kind of caught not fire, but was a topic of conversation on Monday, considering we'd already been 3 days out of the Packers game, among Packers Twitter and our Discord. I was in the camp of it's a pretty bad idea to trade Malik Willis unless you get a like top 100 pick. Like, going to be a free agent at the end of the year, almost certainly not going to be back as the backup of the Packers at come 2026. If you can get a second round pick for him, by all means do that and just hope and pray that Jordan Love doesn't get hurt the rest of the season, or that whatever backup you have, Clayton Tune, can fill in for an extended period of time or a couple of weeks if need be. But other than like a sixth round pick, I hang up the phone because the value of Malik Willis is that the Packers still have a chance at winning games with him. We saw that last year when he filled in. And so a sixth round pick, I laugh, hang up the phone, and I go along with my day. But I think I would have had to give it some real thought if it was a second round pick or a third round pick. I don't think I would have done it for a third, specifically because if the Bengals like do end up being better than expected with Jake Browning and they overachieve the rest of this year without Jake or Joe Burrow, that pick won't be in the well, it'd be in the back half of the third round when ideally I'm looking to get within the first 64 to give up Malik Willis. Obviously, you're not getting a first, but if the Bengals are bad, that would have been a high second, which like that's the cost of doing business when you're desperate. You you want a quarterback that can help you win games, you gotta help pay for it. You gotta pay a heavy price for him because he has value to the Packers as well.
Um, we were talking about this in the Packers Pals section of our GSPN Discord.
That's right.
Join. Um, but really, like, there's so many. It's very rare for an in-season trade where a quarterback gets traded and immediately plays. The one example that found in like going through Track in the last like 5 years, 6 years, kind of like the more modern, I guess, recent history was Josh Dobbs getting traded from Arizona to Minnesota. It was only a sixth rounder, and Arizona even got back a seventh rounder from Minnesota for it. Or some machination of like Vikings traded a sixth rounder to Arizona, and Arizona sent a seventh rounder in addition to Josh Dobbs.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why I was just kind of like, is it really worth it to begin with? Obviously, Bengals negated this whole thing entirely because they signed Sean Clifford. But I do think like the overall point that I'll keep coming to is how we're talking about the Packers now. We're in a different level than how we were talking about them last year, especially when Willis was in Green Bay
Was
for what 10 days.
was starting this week,
Was starting week 3. Was his first start in week 2 was like 10 days after he got traded from Tennessee to
right?
Green Bay. So like it's very mad dash that worked out well in the Packers' favor. But for now, like how we are approaching the Packers quickly to this season and the standard that they are resetting for themselves is vastly different than how we were talking about them this time last year. So to me, it's like whether you want to believe this or not, there is something about like the continuity. It's the same. It's along the same lines of like the Romeo Dobbs trade chatter that has
Yep.
kind of surfaced. I even Matt Schneidman, excuse me, Matt, of the Athletic had a mailbag where he answered a question about Romeo Dobbs like availability, and it said that it's something that stemmed from the summer, but it was something that the Packers obviously did not explore further.
Right.
And now you need Dobbs. I think it goes right back to Willis is that you never know when you need him.
Right.
He is the perfect example of we didn't think that when they were trying to find a number two quarterback last year, they go out of house, trade for him, and he's thrust in the spotlight, played very well. Again, in a very Josh Jacobs heavy game plan of like, we're not letting Malik Willis kind of for lack of a better way of saying this, tank our season or tank games.
Right.
It's we're gonna shield him and lead into our run game.
Shield is a good way to put it.
Yes, and I think for me, and how this NFL season has started for a lot of teams with quarterbacks, like it's teams that the Bengals are 2-0. Like as it's been super ugly.
Yeah, and that's
It's not a Packers 2-0 by any means.
the Athletic Football Show made a good point that the Bengals uh have been in the hole the like last 3 seasons with Joe Burrow because they just start 0-2, 1-1, etc. And then the monkey paw curled. It's like the Bengals just need to start 2-0. It's like, yep, you can, but we're gonna take your quarterback away from
Here
you.
you go. Yeah. Yeah, and like I mean, the Vikings have aspirations. They don't have the quarterback that is nearly at the same level.
I saw
49ers,
I saw a conspiracy that they're shielding him from media critics and letting him learn the offense more because like where when did he injure his ankle? Because in the last play of the game, he rolled out right and threw across his body and looked perfectly fine doing it. But I'd imagine it was on the sack where he got folded in half like a lawn chair.
Skull.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Either way, like there are multiple teams that I would deem as competitive this year that have already lost their quarterback, whether it's temporarily or
I mean, Jane
whether it's
Daniels.
Jaden Daniels got hurt, and
Yeah.
that seems like it's going to be lingering into this week for the Commanders. So you just never know when you need your number two guy to step up, and the fact that the Packers didn't stick with Elgersma or Sean Clifford
Right.
and signed Clayton Tune again. Probably
It's the
played as
practice
bad
squad.
as Malik Willis did
Yeah.
in Tennessee.
But
I
for
just,
Arizona.
but for Arizona, of course. Um, I don't know. Like that's where I get like asset management. I know John made a good point when we were talking about it too. It's like Packers always they don't have their next two first rounders.
Right.
They have six draft picks going into this coming year, and I can't remember if they
Before
would have a
before comp picks.
before. And I'm trying to remember if they would get one probably for Josh Myers.
Maybe.
They didn't really lose.
They really lose anybody else. They had a pretty lock stock. Eric Stokes, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, again, and plus Josh Myers didn't sign like a big deal, like so
Yeah. There's a certain amount of comp picks that the NFL hands out, and you need to like make it into that pool with the players that you lost and able to get some.
and at the end of the day, it's at the end of the seventh round. They
The
cut
yeah,
Micah Robinson. Like Micah Robinson was a compensatory pick.
right. They wouldn't get
So
like a third or fourth round comp pick
e-
for any of the players that they lost.
exactly. So it's like it's all lottery tickets at the end of the day. It's
Correct.
football.
Yep.
Players get hurt.
Yep.
That's where I'm at.
That's right.
That's why I'm sticking to it.
That's why we're sticking with Malik Willis, and obviously the Packers are as well. Um, I do see the exploratory argument. That's basically where I came down. Is like if you can get a high pick, go for it. If you can't, sucks. Like just keep doing what you're doing and rolling with the game. So we also mentioned briefly, or didn't mention, but I'll talk about briefly that Packers did work out Dorian Thompson Robinson this week, which helped fuel that speculation that they might trade Malik Willis.
Yeah.
That's never going to work out. DTR is not good at his job. Uh, Former Browns backup quarterback, and one that Kevin Stefanski wanted to make work. Like he wanted to make DTR work, couldn't make him work. I think he played in a few games the last 2 years when Deshaun Watson was out, and couldn't make it work. So much so that the Browns traded DTR to the Eagles for Kenny Pickett this offseason, and the Eagles subsequently cut Dorian Thompson Robinson as well and went with Tanner McKee for their backup. So he's just he's just not good.
DTR down to be released.
DTBR.
It's a small B.
It's a small D. All right. Let's move on to panning out some cheeses for this Washington Commanders game. Uh there's a
I instantly regret me doing that because did not look great. That was a very
it didn't look awesome. I'll put it that way.
no.
But regardless, let's go through. There's one, two, three, six nominees for cheeses this week. I think two locks, in my opinion. But we'll get through that. First up is quarterback Jordan Love, 19 for 31, 292 passing yards, two touchdowns, zero interceptions, and a 113.9 passer rating. Tucker Craft, six catches, seven targets for 124 receiving yards and one touchdown. Devontae Wyatt, two tackles, a sack, two QB hits, and two PBUs. Edgerrin Cooper, 10 tackles, seven of which were solo, half a sack, and two QB hits. Micah Parsons, two tackles, half a sack, and three QB hits. And Keyshawn Nixon, two tackles, five PBUs, and one catch for 9 yards on six targets. Jordan Tresky, my two locks for cheeses this week are Tucker Craft and Keyshawn Nixon.
Those are mine as well.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
It's not as I mean, we should still marvel at five pass breakups. It's insane. It's insane.
It's really good. It's really good.
Um, and it wasn't all just like Keyshawn beyond or behind the play making a good hands kind of
Mm-hmm.
performance he was doing in various ways. Tucker Craft, it really feels like he's again, it's bubbled to the surface at times last year, but it does feel like people are noticing him in a way that ventures out from Green Bay or like just fantasy radar of like when we're talking about a wide receiver one discussions that Packers might not have a wide receiver one, but they have a tight end one. Tucker Craft, baby. That's what you need to know. But
Mm-hmm.
beyond those two, I was going into this cheese party, this hors d'oeuvres, and I was thought there was like more locks, and I was like, it's not as much as it was versus the Lions. It feels like.
I'd
Am I
agree with that.
wrong?
No, I'd agree with that. I think is this everyone had a pretty good game, and like
Yeah.
Kraft and Nixon had great games.
So who would be your third if we just keep it at three? This is where it
I
gets tough.
think it's either Edgerrin Cooper. Actually, no. I think it's either Devontae Wyatt or Jordan Love.
Devontae Wyatt.
The full sack gets me over, and the two PBUs. He was really trying for that interception.
I was thinking too. We did not give a cheese to uh Cooper last week.
That'll happen. He's been playing very well.
Yes. Is Cooper in the class of players, the rare class of Packers that we are starting to grade him at a higher level than
Correct.
say okay.
He is. He 100% is. Because I think he's earned it. Frankly, he's been doing very, very well. He
That is it is yeah, it's fair. Justified.
justified. We did give Edwin Cooper a cheese last week. We gave one to Gary, Van Ness, Colby, and him.
I have Gary. I have Quay Walker.
You highlighted it green on our document,
Oh my God.
so I ain't saying it.
Did I write Quay Walker? thinking that was some Cooper
The
Razor.
other really good linebacker. That happens.
I think it was probably talking about Quay Walker at the time that I was writing.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
That's all right. So we did give Edge one last week, so I'm down not giving him one this week. 'Cause I think he had a better game last week.
This is
12
where
tackles, 8
if
stops kind
this
of thing.
was an article, it would be uh, a revision has been made about Ezra Cooper, Mr. Cooper.
I think we should give it to Love. He had a really good game. Uh, Limited his mistakes. Like there wasn't anything egregious. Like he didn't have any bad throws like he did against the Lions, where we questioned a couple of his throws. Like I'm pretty happy giving it to Jordan Love.
I am too. I think it's a game that looks a little bit better in a little like not so hot out of the oven, so to speak. I think
Sure.
he had nearly 200 passing yards like 6 minutes before halftime.
Yeah.
Like the passing game, and again, a lot of that was helped by Tucker Craft going, you know,
Big time.
big time, just mowing over people like a, a mower.
Sure.
Um, I was trying to think the Austin Powers where this is
The roller
the
where he
steamroller,
yeah, and the guy's
and the guy was
screaming
like, "Stop!"
ah, and then it's the whole thing. Yeah.
yeah. So I was trying to think of that. I was trying to think
Oh,
of the name Steamroller.
sure.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I just think I thought Jordan Love's outing was a little bit better in retrospect than
Yeah.
probably even Thursday night.
Yeah. Alrighty. Jordan Love, Tucker Craft, and Keyshawn Nixon. Welcome to the party. Couple slices of Munster for Jordan. Some pepper jack maybe for Tucker Craft because of how spicy he is. And a nice cheddar cheese for Keyshawn Nixon. Keep a lookout on social media for the new graphic I made. I'm pretty proud of it. So we can keep track of who got him that week. Selfish plug. Packers GSPN on Twitter. If you still use that app.
Yeah.
So, all right, folks, let's get into this matchup with the Cleveland Browns. A little bit of serious history. The Packers are 13-7 in the 20 meetings they've had against the Cleveland Browns, and you might be thinking, listener, Numac, that seems like a pretty small amount of times for the Packers to face the Browns. Are you sure that's not just since they became the Cleveland Browns again? Jordan is sure. The Packers have faced the Browns 20 times in their entire history, which seems crazy considering how long each of these franchises has been in the NFL.
I'm verifying this through Pro Football Reference
Okay?
as we speak. I was shocked. Brown's been around since 1946.
Yeah.
They have played the Packers as many times. Oh, this is a fun game. As the Jaguars, Dolphins, Saints, and Seahawks.
That's crazy.
They
Especially
played the Jaguars. The
especially the
Jaguars have been
Seahawks.
around for 30 years, and they've played as many games as the Packers.
That's nuts. As the Browns.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. The I was hoping there was gonna be more like funny football names from
I mean, even the
yester.
Dolphins is surprising. Like I know it's like AFC teams and such, but like the Dolphins have been around a while. They had their undefeated season in what was that, 71?
72.
72.
Don't forget it because they'll start
I
smoking cigars.
I know. Well, right. Regardless. Um just a interesting little tidbit. The Packers have won their last 4 games against the Browns and are 1-0 in the Matt LaFleur era. Against the Browns, a 24-22 comeback win on Christmas Day in 2021. I remember that game and how awful it was to watch. The Packers are
Yep.
2-0 playing in Cleveland since the Browns re-entered the NFL back in '99. The last time the Packers played and won in Cleveland came with Brett Hundley under center, which was his last NFL victory as a starter. So it's just some fun tidbits there on the Packers Browns history. Um, the injury
Which is not
report.
as luxurious as we thought.
No, we thought it'd be a lot more rich, but in fact they are quite
No.
poor in history between the two franchises. Um, Injury report for the week. On Monday's practice did not feature obviously Jaden Reed, Bull Melton, Zach Tom, or Aaron Banks. Packers wide receiver Christian Watson is anticipates returning to the field once the Packers come out of their bye in Week 6, so that's a good update for them. Um, According to Matt LaFleur, there's an optimistic outlook from the team that Zach Tom could see the field on Sunday in Cleveland. I would prefer he doesn't play because I don't think they necessarily need him to play. Even though we'll get to talking about this D line
we'll
in
have
a second.
an updated comment from Zach Tom at some point from today.
Okay,
Super interesting.
sounds good. Wednesday's injury report follows as such for both teams. Safety Zane Anderson was a full participant with a knee injury, as was Jordan Love with his thumb injury. Aaron Banks was limited with his groin. Nate Hobbs was limited with his knee. Josh Jacobs limited with an ankle injury. Bull Melton, the shoulder injury, was limited as well. Zach Tom with his oblique injury limited as well. And obviously Jay Nugent is a DMP. He'll be not on the injury report for a while as he goes on. I'm assuming IR. Um, for the Browns, guard Joel Bitonio does a DMP with a back injury. Punter Corey Bojorquez has a right ankle injury. He was a limited participant in
Former
practice.
Packer.
I was gonna say I thought he was a former Packer.
Hmm.
Uh wide receiver DeAndre Carter has a concussion. He was a DMP on Wednesday. Tackle Jack Conklin was limited with an elbow injury. Safety Grant Delpit was a limited participant with a back injury, as was D tackle Mike Hall Jr. Uh, with a knee injury, he was limited. And cornerback Denzel Ward had a shoulder injury and had some cramping, and he was a full participant. His health always a question over in Cleveland. So let's get into this game because there's gonna be we kind of Jordan and I talked about this pre-pod, and I told him to save for the pod. So I'm curious what he has to say. It's kind of hard to get up for this week. I think this is a trap game, frankly, because
Yes.
they go into Dallas next week for an always fiery matchup against the Cowboys. The Browns have Joe Flacco at quarterback. They are starting inexperienced running backs and Quinshon Judkins and um, I forget his name. Dylan
Dylan
Sampson. Dylan
Sampson.
Sampson along with Jerome Ford trotting out, and like they don't have high expectations. Their offense is kind of just in the gutter. Defense still has some high points, but they held the Bengals close in week one, but then got absolutely demolished against the Ravens last week, and like things just aren't looking very good in Cleveland. Like the optimism isn't very high, and so with that being said, Packers go into Cleveland high as can be. I would argue they should be like top two in power rankings. I think I forget what outlet it was had them four behind uh the 1-1 Ravens, which I thought was interesting. Regardless, doesn't matter. Um, but I think this is a trap game. I think the team needs to come in really focused this week because they're going up against a defense that is nothing to turn your nose at. Myles Garrett is still on this defense, wreaking havoc from the edge spot. And if Zach Tom doesn't go and it's Anthony Belton or Kennard, that could be an issue. Like I think even with Rasheed Walker out at left tackle, I mean it'll be interesting to see how the tackles hold up against a star edge rusher like Myles Garrett. And so they can't they can't rest on their laurels having beaten two like thoroughbred contenders as they go into a team 0-2, kind of spinning their wheels, waiting for Deshaun Watson's contract to run out so they can actually try and compete again come 2028.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think this is very much a trap game for all the reasons you outlined. I think another part of it is that they go from highly anticipated season opener, both with the opponent, the Lions, and getting Micah Parsons. There's just juice flowing in Green Bay at that point. And then it's followed up with a 3 day rest before you have to play the Commanders. And so another again, like that was a highly anticipated matchup, a, kind of a yardstick measuring game too. And they passed that with flying colors. How can you sustain that against an opponent that a lot of people expected them to be the one of the worst teams in the NFL, if not the worst? And they're proving that with the Browns. And it's also like, okay, so you go from 3 days rest to what, 11
Yep.
now?
Yep.
Weird scheduling quirk that you have to deal with. You're missing some key guys. you're trying to get back one key guy in particular to kind of fortify, or I should say two, but one key guy in particular on the offensive line, who Zach Tom said today. Zach Tom, this is from Matt Schneidman of The Athletic. Zach Tom said he felt quote unquote good today, but he wouldn't divulge chance he plays. Quote, it's kind of hard to run. That's the main thing. I feel like moving side to side, I'm good, but anything that involves me trying to get out and open up, that's kind of like where I can feel it a little bit because
How
he has a
about we
torn
just
oblique.
sit this week, pal?
Yet,
You are an offensive lineman. Running's not going to be your thing, but that doesn't mean you can just not do it.
yeah, yeah. So when you're talking about that, I don't know if we'll see Zach Tom as much as I'm sure he's giving a valiant effort, but excuse me. Um, there's just a lot of it is such a letdown in terms of like opponent that like are they going to play with the same intensity? Are they going to it's not necessarily questioning their professionalism, but it's like anything. Fans are certainly my expectations of how this game are going to go is like you think of what the point spread could possibly be if you partake in that kind of thing, and you're it's probably reflecting like what kind of game it will be. But the Packers are just so overwhelmingly good to start the year that we are just penciling them in as this kind of infallible team where this is as much of an example of like what could happen if they overlook like don't get too far ahead. Take each game as what it is
Right,
and move on.
right. So let's start with that Browns defense because I think that's something that will be a key to this game, for the sole purpose that it's just good. Like that's been the calling card of this Browns team under Kevin Stefanski. Even though Kevin Stefanski is not a defensive coach, he is a QB
No.
whiz. He's an offensive minded guy. They've had really good defenses in this era of Browns football. Um, Ben B Baldwin on Twitter. He's a computer cowboy. Puts out a weekly, um, what is basically a weekly thread of graphs and charts them based on PFF grade and ESPN win rate grade for a bunch of stuff, for QB stuff, running efficiency, blocking, etc., etc. Um, Unit strength from ESPN and PFF. Um, this is two graphs for pass rush and run defense. You can go to his Twitter from Tuesday to find these. Um, Basically, top right quadrant of this graph is really really good. That means you're really good at, according to ESPN and PFF, you're really good at blocking or pass rushing and blocking the run. The Browns are in that top right quadrant pretty solidly by themselves for both their pass rush and their run defense. For the run defense, they are by far and wide by themselves. The next closest
Yeah.
team is the Commanders at about 10 fewer points of rush defense, um, according to PFF. To put that into context, through two games, the Cleveland Browns have an 85.6 run defense grade. The next closest is the Commanders at 77.3. Um, and for ESPN, if I can find the tab that I was just on, there it is. For ESPN on that, they are a full. They're probably up near 40% for that win rate. That's pretty darn good. For pass rush, they're kind of like on the trend line.
I
Only
have actually the win rate rankings right now.
go for it.
The Browns are sixth in pass rush win rate with 45%. In run snap win rate, I'm guessing that's what it is.
Yep.
37%, which ranks third.
Yeah, only the Patriots. That's probably the Commanders are second, right? According to ESPN.
Patriots first, and yes, you're correct.
Yeah,
Right on the money.
and then obviously Browns. But like this team is really good up front, really really good up front. To give context as to like how good the run defense is, which I think is a crucial point this week. Week one against the Bengals, they allowed 46 yards rushing, including 21 carries for 43 yards from Chase Brown. Chase Brown, for context, last week against the Jaguars, ends up going for uh 47 yards and 16 carries. Like he's not a bad running back. Like that was he's pretty decent. I think he had a slow start to the year, but I don't think that's indicative of like the back he is. But then
Yeah.
this kind of furthers my point. Browns faced the Ravens last week, get absolutely demolished. Lamar Jackson throws for 225 and 4 touchdowns. However, Derrick Henry 11 carries, 23 yards. That's insane for like a Derrick Henry workload. And maybe they just didn't run him a lot for the sole purpose of they didn't need to. They were out big early. They were up 10-3 at halftime and then really just put their foot down in the second half. But then Lamar Jackson 13 yards on 2 carries. Justice Hill 7 yards on 3 carries. Like they there's no success inside the tackles against this run defense. They have Myles Garrett. They have their first round draft pick Mason Graham, and they have Malik Collins. Like this is a
Person, what's his name? UCLA guy, the linebacker. I know him.
Devin Bush or Carson
N-
Schwessinger.
Schwessinger.
Yeah,
He is. I remember hearing like more national NFL pods highlighting how good he's been to start the year too.
people are slotting him in for defensive rookie of the year. Not slotting him in per se, but like there's talk about it,
Yeah.
and so um it's a really good defense. And you and I had talked, or in our doc, that like can Josh Jacobs get the run game going? Not exactly an easy week to do that. Like
No.
we're giving a lot of thought to this Browns team, even though they're pretty abysmal on offense. But the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins led Bengals only scored 17 points on them. The Ravens laid the smackdown on them. But I think the point is that Josh Jacobs hasn't looked great through 2 games, and we're waiting for him to kind of get his season going and showcase some of the games that like some of the games he had last year. I'm not sure he's going to find it this year or this game, especially with maybe Aaron Banks and Zach Tom being out. That's the big thing, is that like there wasn't really a whole lot of continuity on this offensive line during training camp, so maybe their blocking isn't totally on point. Like they're not working so cohesively as a unit, and so I'll be curious to see how this run game goes. It could be extremely tough sledding to get the run game going against this front, which then kind of muddies up how the Packers want to run their offense, being an established the run team and then air it out behind with play action off of that.
Yeah, this is actually here's a perfect stat because I think you make the point of we acknowledge the run game has not been pristine. The offensive line shuffling because of Tom's injury and Aaron Banks being sidelined is also a mitigating factor. But there just has been that push for Josh Jacobs to see daylight. And even when I think he even called it out after the game too, is that there's a play last week where he had a lot more open field that he just didn't see. He's just working a lot tighter spaces to work with, and by and large, he's getting 1 or 2 yard kind of like it's a lot of work just to get very little. NFL Pro, the NFL Premium, stats. Josh Jacobs ranks sixth in the it's sixth worst, I should say, in rushing yards over expected with -28. That
Hate that.
not great. Like here, do you want to hear the other running backs ahead of him?
Behind him or
Chris
ahead of him?
behind him technically.
Like fifth worst, fourth worst, etc., etc.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like this.
Christian McCaffrey,
Oh,
O'Marion Hampton,
oh,
Justice Hill, who played the Browns last week, Ashton Genty, and
he's had some bad tape.
uh-huh, and Zach Charbonnet.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting. So guys that are good just haven't gotten started this season, which is interesting. Interesting. Regardless, it's that getting those rush yards over expected up is going to be pretty important for him.
For frame of reference, because I remember this when I was we were talking about it at righty even last year. Josh Jacobs ranked sixth in rushing yards over expected last year
Yeah.
with plus 217. So it is just like I think a lot of it just comes down to his own brilliance, but you still just want to see bigger gaps being exploited, being pushed, being created by the interior. I mean, this is also where like this is not so sneaky of a subplot, but like this is where Elton Jenkins being center does change the way that the anchor is,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we're talking about interior, like an all pro left guard now making the center or the change to center position. He's still on the interior. Still, he's just playing a different role. The timing of having to snap the ball up and then making sure you're walling off which side of the field or who you're going against in at nose or a 4-3 whatever it is. It does change that how space can be generated for someone like Josh Jacobs. You muted.
I unmuted it. Damn it. I pressed it. Must have pressed it again. No, absolutely. And I think like the continuity thing goes right along with that. Is that like how well can you block? How like can you scheme blocks for space to get open if like that anchor point changes and you don't have the same personnel in there? So
Mm-hmm.
it'll be it'll be interesting. I don't want to go as far to say I think Josh Jacobs will have a bad game, but like it's entirely possible that he has like a similar statistical game as he did the last two. But like I think that could be a difference making facet of this game is if Josh Jacobs can somehow get it going, not somehow make it seem like it's impossible, but if he can get it going to the point where it's a positive, he has 80, 90 yards, so it should be incredible against this defense. That'd be a huge boon to the Packers offense because once they start selling out for the run, the Jordan Love can really start slinging it against the secondary, which is I'm not gonna say like bad, but they're not super duper either. And so, like I said, they're still good, and it'll be interesting to see how the Packers receivers and tight ends line up because like Denzel Ward still very talented, and they have a good unit back there. They're eighth in PFF grades coverage grades, so not nothing to turn your nose up at again. And so let's move on to that.
I don't.
Go
I
ahead.
think I was just gonna say like before we get to kind of the better stuff. I just don't
The
know if
better
there's
stuff.
been a more lopsided offense
Two
defense
sides of the ball.
discussion
Yeah.
because it is like it's insane.
Do you want to
It's
talk the Browns offense? You want to talk Packers defense? Then we'll go to Packers offense at the end. Finish on the high stuff.
well, it is just like the fact that the Browns have I mean they have Miles Garrett, but like we highlight like very good players that they
Yeah.
still have on that roster that
Mason Graham
make
is really
them
good.
and it's like you just go with their offense. It's like it was Dylan Gabriel was playing on the field in I think the fourth quarter of last week's game against the
He
Ravens.
was. Yep. Before before we get to the offense, let's talk Packers offense and then
Their
before,
rookie running back finally played after signing his contract amid some legal matters.
Yep.
He signed the contract the day before, and they were just like, "Yeah, he's gonna start playing."
Yep. We'll talk Browns offense and Packers defense in a minute.
Jimmy Haslam.
Let's talk uh Packers passing offense and what they can do. I'm sorry, Packers defense. Where was I going with this? What side of the ball haven't we covered yet? We covered Packers
Talk
offense and the run
talk
game.
about offense.
More just I'd like to see I think if there's a week that like I really want Matthew Golden to break out,
Mm,
it's this week. Like he's
mm,
gonna have to step up out of like with Jaden Reed's absence. I would like to see the Matthew Golden breakout game. Like it doesn't
yeah.
need to be huge, like 10 catches, 150 yards, and touchdowns, but like some consistent work. Like that I think that's the most of what I'm asking for here is some consistent work, a high number of targets, like 7, 8 targets, really start getting him involved down the field, not just as a gadget player behind the line of scrimmage, and see what his impact on this offense can do amid Jaden Reed's absence.
I'm laughing because I was just like, where does Matthew Golden's air yards per target rank? Because it was just
Probably
like top of
first.
mind. He's eighth. Do you know who's first?
Quentin Johnston.
It is Malik Heath
Oh my God. Oh, because he has one.
because he has one and he completed it. But yeah, it is just like that's a good. I like that um, that shout for Matthew Golden because I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of I don't know if it's expectations have been tempered. I mean, he's a rookie wide receiver. We're so excited about what that means, especially first round pick, yada yada yada. But it did feel like they're gonna have to depend on him, especially when injuries were hitting the wide receiver room and has obviously only come to further to pass.
Right.
You, I, I, I think the way you framed it last week of is this just gonna be like the Christian Watson treatment? I mean, it kind of is been like that where
So far,
it's
yeah.
bomb it downfield and maybe connect on him or connect with him on a pass like that, or you have him do jet sweeps. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, let's try to see more of what we saw in week one when he got his first catch. Like the intermediary stuff, like can really help this team. And granted, maybe you don't want to target the middle of the field with a Browns defense that is very good. But yeah, I just think there's a good balance of trying to make it easy for a young guy like him and then not just pigeonholing him in the ways that feel familiar but don't get kind of the you know it's worked in some cases with the Packers wide receivers over the years, like a Jaden Reed, Dobbs when he started to get movement, Christian Watson when he was healthy, but like it's too stop start of like how this offense works of the unpredictability, the fact that there are so many mouths to feed, yada yada
Mm-hmm.
yada. That I don't want to see just another guy fall on that kind of like this escalator of like up and down
Yeah.
movement.
Um, I think I don't want to say we were misled by camp, but I think like Matthew Golden was the shiny new toy to look at during training camp, and so every other tweet was about how good he looked, and I think we, as always, especially with a new receiver, got a little excited about the idea of a rookie coming in and lighting up the league, and that obviously, like I said, hasn't happened yet. Matthew Golden has 4 targets this season, um, and I think 2 catches, if I'm not mistaken. Um, those 4 targets, according to PFF, one has come between 0 and 10 yards to the left side. That I think was his second NFL catch. His first one was between 10 and 20 yards on the left side, and then his 2 deep balls down the middle. That's it.
Yep.
Like I think we just need to see a bigger distribution of where he's getting the ball in space. Like get some throws over the middle. Get him on doing more um, routes towards the sideline, like cutting across the middle, beating his guy. Because I forget what the stat was, and it was hilariously abbreviated ass. But
Of his separation.
Matthew Golden, first by a mile in separation, and
Yeah.
that works anecdotally with what you said watching the Lions game. Like, he was getting behind his guy every single rep. It's like okay, let's capitalize on that. He's got good hands. We've seen it. Like I think the chemistry between Jordan Love and Matthew Golden needs to develop and kind of get into a rhythm with that. This is probably the time to do so with Jaden Reed's injury. So
Yeah.
let's move on to the what should be the exciting side of the ball this week. The Packers pass rush against the Cleveland Browns and just the very old man that is Joe Flacco. And I think Jacobson said something this afternoon on Twitter was like, I'm not gonna buy into the hype of Joe Flacco, he's so old and against this Packers pass rush because that tends to backfire. But I do think there is like a legitimate, I don't want to say like what's the word, possibility, gripe, not gripe's not the word, but there's a good chance that Packers just tee off on Joe Flacco this week. uh the pass blocking has not been good for the Browns. They're 23rd according to PFF and just in grade. I should look at the amount of pressures they've allowed because I can't imagine it's very good.
They have allowed the most total pressures for a quarterback this year.
Yeah, so not great. And with you have a couple of edge rushers like Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons, and Lucas Van Ness playing at the level that they're playing at, it could be some pretty brutal play in the trenches come Sunday. And I think like that's just gonna be the key to the game is make 40-year-old Joe Flacco's life a living hell and get 5 sacks because this offense isn't very good. Like they've only scored 16 and 17 points in their first 2 games. And so if the Packers can just keep them to across on their own side of midfield, this should be how the Packers just dog walk the Browns. It's going to be through their defense again because as much as I like the Packers offense so far this year, it's not the Ravens. Like Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have a very impressive defense. They've scored 40 and 41 points in back-to-back weeks against a Bills defense and now this Browns defense. And the Packers have at times sort of sputtered uh, throughout the game. Like they kind of have a couple of drives where they don't look locked in. They play calling is a bit wonky, and so unless we get a detraction from that, and the offense looks really really good this week, which I would happily welcome, this game will again be in the hands of the defense to really make sure it stays out of reach the entire time because with the way this front seven has been playing, like it's time to pin your ears back and just get after it. Which at the same time, Joe Flacco is an experienced quarterback in and of himself, to where the short dink and dunk game could be something that they rely on this week. They dumps off to Quinshawn Judkins and Dylan Sampson, short routes to Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku, but the Packers are fine living with that, knowing that they can defend those intermediate passes. And so I think they're gonna tee off on this old line and really make Joe Flacco get the ball out really fast like they did with Jared Goff in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is already probably going to be how we were talking about it pre Micah Parsons, and now it's just like it, this is how the game will be defined. If
Pretty
you
much.
don't really they can't let. This is where the fear of like what the letdown could be if they don't take the Browns seriously.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
and that's how it's been in the years past. I mean, they're the famous Jair Alexander coin toss game where th're playing against the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
They win it by the skin of their teeth. A very important game in the that year's run because of what it meant for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like they have a very good defense right now, possibly best in the league. They have a really good pass rush, possibly best in the league. Multiple guys are getting to the quarterback. It's not just Micah Parsons, it's a wave of guys that are just running all over the field, playing within themselves and playing as a unit at the same time. How can you keep up that intensity? And maybe it is just, like you said, teeing off is kind of what you hope it could be. And to your credit, I mean, like I understand, like it's Flacco, like he's played for a very long time. He, I believe, was this is his 17th year, maybe 18th year, whatever it is.
God, is it really that long?
Yeah, because I think he was, if I remember correctly,
2008?
I was gonna say I think he was the starting quarterback for
Uh,
when Jim or John Harbaugh got there
yeah,
because that's when they
18,
drafted him.
18 years.
Um, yeah. Also, not wasn't a very mobile quarterback to begin with, and now you're asking for him to having to make throws off platform, evading pressure within the pocket or even outside of it, and it's like they just don't like. It's Jerry Judy, Harold Fannin. I know is kind of um, wowed some people.
Yep.
David Njoku is a very solid tight end, but they don't really have weapons. They don't have much of anything that makes you. You're obviously going to defend them, but you're not like it's not like what we were talking about last week with like a Terry McLaurin or what the week before with an Amon Ross St. Brown. Like Browns are just so again, it's so lopsided between
There's a
defense and
void of
offense.
talent on the offense side of the ball.
It's
Like
crazy.
Quinton Judkins, like has potential to be a pretty good running back. It's game two. I just like there's nobody that really I fear catching the
Yeah.
ball. Like David Njoku is a good tight end. Harold Fannin Jr. is going to be a good tight end in the league. But like Cedric Tillman, Jamari Thrash,
I forgot about
and
Tillman.
and Isaiah Bond don't scare me. Like Jerry Judy can
No.
have a big game, but I think like he needs time to get his routes in, and he's not going to have time to do that against the Packers defense.
There was actually, funnily enough, I don't know why it's taking me this long to mention it, but the Browns are the pay the most cash over cap team in the NFL. The Athletic Mike Sandoz, sorry, the Athletics Mike Sando had a column that was very interesting of like ranking teams on spending, and the Browns are number one in large part because of Deshaun Watson. So it
Yeah,
was very funny just
the
to see
nasty
that.
man's contract,
Yes.
and they can't cut him because he has like a $70 million cap hit next year.
Well, I heard you could. I mean, Jimmy Haslam knows how to, you know, he knows how to wave and uh, eat the salary, right? Right? Right?
Not in the NFL.
Right?
I did this math.
Stretch and wave?
Yeah, can't not in this NFL.
No.
They have to basically they won't be competitive for a few years, which is just the nature of it. I think like 2027 is
I
like
think
the.
that's just that is called Cleveland Browns football, unfortunately.
I mean, sure, but they had Baker and they won a playoff game with Baker Mayfield.
It is insane how that decision. Granted, I don't think he was going to be what he is now because he you need something like that to motivate you.
He also like wasn't liked by Stefanski. Like that was a big thing of it.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
just like wasn't a good team fit for whatever reason. Like I don't know why players didn't like him or why Stefanski didn't want to coach him or anything
You
like that.
mean a hot-headed quarterback that went first overall in an NFL draft
Yeah,
felt a little too big for his britches?
maybe, maybe, but
Mm.
it's a whole thing. So um, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Is it because Kevin Stefanski dare touch Baker Mayfield's Bud Light lacquer? Huh?
So all right, let's I
That's my analysis of the Browns offense.
yeah,
Bud Light
it's
locker when they win.
like it's just there's just nothing to point to. Like they can move the ball a little bit,
Famous last
but
words,
like
but it
that's why I think it's
truly
a trap
is.
game. Because
I
like
know.
it's they need the defense to show up and take care of business. The offense can do what they need to do, but like this could be a game where it's done by halftime, or it's halftime. We're like, what in the world is going on here?
It is like going from a varsity, like it is an NFL level defense to a. Do they have JV teams for college?
No,
They have scout team.
yeah, they
Let's
have
just say
scout teams.
college scout team. Um, yeah, it's famous last words, but I don't cannot remember like the drop off of a team. It's usually just like, oh, this team is just not good. And it's like, no, there's parts of the Browns that are good. I mean, Miles Garrett just single-handedly lifts the floor of this team by
Right.
himself. But outside of that, and some good defenders, like, whoo boy, it's rough.
It's rough. So, with all that being said, Jordan, let's get into our players to watch for this week. Uh, you can start with a Brown or Packer. I'm not going to make you pick, but who is your players
I
to
just
watch
go
this
right to the
week?
Browns. I really like. Let's go. I'll do Browns. Just get out of the way.
Okay.
I think Miles Garrett is probably. I'll just take it.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think it is just the Zach Tom of it all. Like you and I are probably in agreement that if you're having trouble running or moving your body from side to side or whatever, however he phrased it in his quote. I think we'll see Anthony Belton going into week 3, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. He
I tell you
had
what,
some shaky moments, but
I tell you
by
what,
and large.
if he can hold his own against Miles Garrett, Goody might have done the thing again. We'll see.
It's
But
quite
like,
a litmus
it's
test.
a
And I'm
huge
not
litmus
going to be,
test.
I'm not, if we are talking about this on Sunday night, whenever we record, and we're talking about Anthony Belton getting embarrassed by Miles Garrett on a couple of possessions,
That just happens.
exactly, that is just what
That
happens.
just happens.
Yep.
So, my Brown is gonna be Mason Graham. Uh, Rookie fourth overall pick, if I'm not mistaken. Uh,
The player that they took instead of Travis Hunter.
Correct,
Or,
or Shador,
yep.
whichever. He was like one of the.
Ugh.
Regardless, don't talk. We don't have to talk about Shador. Uh,
Could you imagine if we see him?
it would take a. It would be pretty interesting if we see him. Get the
You never
like
know when the door is going to go open.
regardless.
They close the door on
Mine
him.
is Mason Graham. Rookie D tackle out of Michigan. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, been playing very well so far. A guy that's definitely like benefiting from the presence of Miles Garrett, and so I've been a force inside. And here's to hoping that he can get mitigated by Elton Jenkins and Jordan Morgan and the interior offensive line of the Packers. Um, my Packer to watch this week is going to be, let's go Keyshawn again. Like,
Hmm.
not again, but let's go Keyshawn for the sole purpose of can he do it again this week? Because like they throw the ball. It's not like they don't, but I'm assuming they're gonna have a lot of quick passes this week, and I think that's where Keyshawn can really thrive is breaking up those quick slants and kind of sniffing out bubble screens and things like that. Let's see him do it again. I would love to see him have another really really good week and solidify himself even more so than he already has as cornerback one. Need your
Oh,
need your Packer.
I was going to be more fun. Now I'm going to be less fun. I'm going to go Josh Jacobs. Again, we're going to be on a different scale. We're going to dial up the scale a little bit. But I think the more we see this Packers run game struggle, we'll be more expecting that this is not going to be as easy as it was last year. And a lot of that, as we talked about in that segment of the pod, came down to how good Josh Jacobs was at the open field, or even when past the first point of contact. So, yeah, this is going to be a tough run defense to get anything on the Browns. But considering how the run game has looked the first 2 weeks of the season, how good of a running back that we've seen him already be in Green Bay, like I just want to see more. I just want to see more. It doesn't have to be like you just want to see more consistency. I'm not asking for like 100-yard game, even though that would certainly help. But it's just something that kind of be like that's something that we hadn't seen the last couple weeks.
Yep. Yep. Score predictions. Go for it.
Oh, I'll go Packers 31, Browns 13.
The palindrome.
Exactly.
I also think the Packers crossed the 30-point threshold for the first time this season. I'm going to go 35 uh 17.
35-17. Interesting.
Yep. Uh
Both we have both 18-point deficits.
how about that? What a quinkydink. Um
Oh.
I was going to say something. What was I going to say? Um oh, 35-17. I think the Packers scored a defensive touchdown this game. That's my prediction.
Oh. I like that. That's saucy.
Yes. Saucy.
Saucy.
So, all right, Jordan, anything
Somebody stop me.
anything else on this Packers Browns trap game matchup?
No, I think I think we've was trying to think of a joke answer, but I think we have covered all of our bases, even though that is the wrong sport.
That is the wrong sport. Uh, Regardless, let's hope we're talking about a nice Packers win as move to 3-0 on Sunday. The vibe if they lose will be not great, but we're not going to think about that because we both think they're going to win. So, thank you for listening, folks. Check out all things GSPN at gspn.info. Subscribe to wherever you're listening to your podcast. Here on obviously whatever platform you're doing so. Please go subscribe to the Packers, the Taco Tundra YouTube channel. We had our live there post game for the Commanders pod. Had some people pop in and join and chat with us, which was really, excuse me, really fun. If you want to do that too, next time we go live, which would be the next primetime game, which I believe is the Cowboys game Sunday night in Week
Yeah.
4. So we'll be live after that moment. You can do that as well. Up to 34 subscribers. We'd like to get that number a bit higher. So if you could go subscribe to that, we would really appreciate it. Um, Check out all things Bucks over on the Bucks feed with Eurostep with Ty and Rohan. And nothing else from us. We'll talk to you guys Sunday evening. Me and Jordan will talk to each other. You'll hear us talk on Monday morning. Thank you all for listening. And Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.